where they have been, where they are now, and how we can move forward together with our brothers and sisters at home and abroad to inspire and elevate our country, our economy, our people, and our youth to achieve excellence and success. Roots Connections on Q, every other Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., only on Q95.
Good evening, Dominica. Good evening to you, wherever you're joining us from. I hope wherever you are nice and warm. It is freezing here in Georgia and pretty much most of the U.S. So I hope that you're nice and warm. And welcome to another episode of Roots Connections on Q, our number one program for navigating a world where change is the only constant, where we feature the change makers among us, where we continue to harness the power of technology, international radio, social media, and podcasts to leverage the skills and talents of our Dominican and Caribbean experts around the world for guidance in this ever-changing world, as we continue to work to reverse the brain drain which has plagued Dominica and the Caribbean regions for decades, with a view to how we can all work to develop our country and our region. Today, we're very happy to be joined by members of the St. Mary's Academy Alumni Infrastructure and Development Fund, and we will be discussing the roof rehabilitation project, as well as discussing how projects such as these go beyond rehabilitating the building. They go beyond the infrastructure. How essentially are we securing the future of our youth in Dominica? As always, we look forward to hearing from you, whether you call in via the radio or you join us on Facebook. We are live on Q95 FM radio, as well as Push Past 10, and we're also live on YouTube on Q95 FM radio. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe so you never miss when we go live. As we continue to witness how quickly the world around us is changing, here on Roots Connections, we are committed to looking at the changes we should be concerned about. We look at the changes we should be taking advantage of, and we also look at what changes we need to make in order to move our islands and our people forward. So tonight's program is definitely all about a change that is urgently needed, because our panel will tell us about the impact of not having this much needed roof at the SMA. So again, welcome, a very warm welcome to you. This is episode number 84 of Roots Connections on Q for today, January 22nd, 2025. And I'm your host, Simone Matthew. We're very happy to be joined by the principal and board member, the principal of the St. Mary's Academy and a board member of the foundation, Ms. Sylvia John Baptist. We are also joined by the committee chair, a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Alvin Thomas, and another committee member join us, Mr. Patrick Alexander. But before we get started, we always like to remember to pray for our country, Dominica, and the many challenges we continue to face. So let's go ahead and give a very warm Roots Connections welcome to our panel as they unmute their mics and they tell us a little bit of who they are and their connections to Dominica. Maybe share a little bit of your upbringing. So, of course, the ladies first. Sylvia, we will begin with you, and I'll go ahead and start sharing the live to everyone who's expecting it. So, welcome to the program, Sylvia.
Thank you very much, Simone. My name is Sylvia John Baptist. I'm Grenadian by birth. My husband is Dominican. I grew up on the eastern side of Grenada, St. Andrews, the town of Grenville. They say wise men come from the east, but I think wise women come from there too. I just playing. I was educated at a convent high school, St. Joseph's Convent, by the sisters there, and they did I think they did a very good job with me, put it that way. They did their best. So I am now trying to give back, repay, because two of the sisters who taught me, Sister Sylvia Toulon and Sister Patricia Douglas. They're both dead now. God rest their souls, blessed memory. They were from Dominica. So now I'm trying to repay a debt to Dominica by serving as a teacher. I came to serve as a teacher and then serving as principal. So um, I had a usual upbringing, a strict father. My mother was the softer one, and so it was important for us to our education meant a lot in our household. My parents, they always had discussion and talked about the current affairs and so on. Um, I went to school. You had to go to mass. You had to go to church. That was there was no excuse. You had to go to church. You got just how you go to school, and they brought us up in the Catholic faith, and I'm glad for it. I When I got old enough, after leaving school, I went on to teach at the my alma mater, and then I went to teach at a school like SMA called Presentation Brothers College. I think their anniversary is today, or it was yesterday. Presentation Brothers College. It is the brother of St. Mary's Academy, same Christian brother, same founder Edmund Rice, and after I went off to study in Trinidad to do agriculture, came back home, worked for a while, taught at a government school before going to the state college to teach. And then I went on to the US at Florida A&M to do my bachelor's degree and my master's in agricultural sciences, especially in entomology. My master's is in biological control. After completion, well, I got married up there, of course. Well, my husband is Dominican. We came back to Dominica, and I got a job eventually as a teacher at St. Mary's Academy. And I started there in 2004. And after 2018, I became the principal. And so I'm serving as principal now until now.
Yes, well, lovely to meet you. And of course, we embrace you as an adopted Dominican. So thank you so much for your service to Dominica, Grenada, and by extension, the Caribbean region. So, Patrick, welcome to the program. Tell us a little bit about you.
All right, thank you. And I'm not sure we have enough time in this segment. I'll try to be brief. So my name is Patrick Roland Alexander, and I am the official independence baby of Dominica. So I was the very first person born on the day our country gained its independence from Great Britain. And it was my grandmother's idea to name me after the first Prime Minister, Patrick Roland John. And so being born on that day got some benefits. The Rotary Club of the island decided to pay for my education. So from the time I was born, I got some gifts, hampers, and all that stuff from the Rotary Club, and they paid for my education from preschool all the way through the community college. At that time it was called CDCC. And something else about me, I was held by Princess Margaret of Wales when she came to give the Declaration of Independence. And I like to say I'm very connected to the history of Dominica. So in 1981, when we had the coup against the government, my father, Matthias Alexander, was one of the two policemen that got shot in that coup. The first Prime Minister, Mary Junior Charles, she is my grandma's cousin. So my grandma is Sylvia Charles Felix. So my grandma is still alive, and she's also one of the very instrumental people in my life. And so I'm from Point Michel, just so you know. And also the second Prime Minister of the country, Edison James, is also my dad's cousin on the father's side. So my dad is from the Marigot Wesley area. And so again, I went to So I came from very humble beginnings, and I mentioned I grew up in the village of Point Michel, and I want to say it takes a village to to raise a child, right? So some strong influences in my life is my grandma, my grandfather was my first superhero. He was a cultural icon, and he's one of the guys that couldn't read and write, but he could literally do everything else. So he could play the drums, mason, carpenter, right? My mom, my stepdad, and I want also want to say even the entire village of Point Michel. So we grew up in a time where everybody knew everybody, and everybody could spank you or get your parents to spank you, and they know the persons who are up to stuff. So I was one of the students that always had a straight A. I always got first in my class, common entrance, place number 13. And I went to SMA for 5 years. And after graduating from SMA, I went to Civil Call, and I came back and I taught at grammar school, computer science and mathematics. And I also taught at SMA for 1 year. At that time, Rupert Swindle was the principal. And in 1999, I got a scholarship from the government when we celebrated 21 years of independence to further my education. And I went to study in Oklahoma. So I have a degree in computer science and mathematics. I have an MBA specialized in the MIS. And I've worked for so I've been in the US since 2000. I've worked for the US military. I've worked for Florida International University. And my specialty is computer science. And in 2011, I started my own digital marketing agency called Balambico, and we create websites and help companies get internet success. And what I really enjoy, you heard me say that at the beginning, I talk about the Rotary Club, and I really enjoy giving back, right? So I've been part of organizations that's dedicated to giving back to SMA, giving back to the students, and now really helping take this infrastructure to the next level and really raising some money to get the roof back on track. So I really enjoy giving back, and I'm the product of a lot of individuals' generosity, and so that's why I'm here.
Yes, lovely to meet you, Patrick, and thank you for sharing your fascinating history and your upbringing and your culture. You're certainly 100% Dominican. Yes, and let's go over to Alvin, a man who needs no introduction. So, Alvin, just feel free to share a few introductory remarks as we get the program started.
Well, thank you, Simon, and let me say a pleasant good evening to you and my two fellow guests, Patrick and Sylvia, and to my good friend Lambi in the studio. Good evening, Lambi. Good to see you. Good to have you. Well, what can I say? As you said, I am Alvin Thomas. I think that's a household name. Everybody have heard it. If they haven't heard it yet, well, I'm not sure, but I'm Dominican, of course, residing in Atlanta with my family. Moved to the US in 1998. But prior to that, I was engaged in, you name it, a graduate from St. Mary's Academy way back, many, many, many moons away in 1975. So don't start doing the maths if you don't have a calculator. And when I left, graduated from St. Mary's Academy, at the time, like most of us did, I went into the public service and began a public service career. And I had what I would consider a distinguished public service career, rising all the way to the top of Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, which is the position right after the Permanent Secretary. But prior to that, of course, I served in various other capacities as Postmaster General, General Secretary of the Public Service Union, Chairman of the Cooperative Credit Union League Board, Vice Chairman of the Rosal Credit Union, JCs, you name it. I did some studies in human resource management, as well as in postal management in UK. And when I left the US, when I left Dominican, migrated to the US, I started a program in tourism management, then opened my own business. I had a flourishing, I would say, hospitality and tourism business in Atlanta. And then when the crash came, the financial crash, folks were not traveling anymore. I liquidated, got out of that, went into school, optical school, began training in the optical field, and did that until I retired about a little over 2 years ago as a retired optician. Owned my own business along with my boys in Atlanta, an optical shop, and we're just on the verge of opening an optical shop in Dominica. Um, so that's me in a nutshell. I'm the president. I'm also the chairman of the JCI Dominica JC's Senate body, of which I'm a senator. Um, so that's me in a nutshell, and I'm here today to see how I can give back to my alma mater. It's something that is very dear to my heart, and I believe, given the project that we are soon to embark upon, it's I see it as something that is sustainable. It's not, yes, we're starting with the roof, but it's going to be more and beyond the roof project.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you. Thank you for that, Alvin, Patrick, and Sylvia. Thank you for being here. I also see folks are coming in on Facebook. Owen Prosper, Carl Kofi James, Rosa Robinson. Good evening to you. Don't forget, if you're watching us on Facebook and you want to be acknowledged for being here, just let us know where you're joining us from. Post a comment. Let us know where you're joining us from, and we'll be happy to acknowledge you. So again, thank you for being here. We remain grateful to Mr. G and the Q95 family for having us come here every second and fourth Wednesday to tap into the human resources of our Dominican brothers and sisters at home and throughout the world as we work to advance our culture, our country, and our region. Lambi, good evening to you. Thank you for being here. Sherwin Norris, thank you for keeping us connected. So as we get the program off and running, I think it is so important. You know, St. Mary's Academy holds a very important place in our society in Dominica, because for those who are less familiar with Dominica, because we know we have an international audience, St. Mary's Academy is the only male high school, only male high school in Dominica. And I was trying to think, I was thinking, well, is Convent High School the only female? But it actually is not, because there is the Wesley High School, which is all female. And I believe the St. Martin's High School is only female. But SMA, the St. Mary's Academy, is the only male high school in Dominica. So I think it holds a very special and unique position in our society. So what I would like us to begin with this evening is just for you, Sylvia, to just give us a little bit about the history of St. Mary's Academy for those who may be less familiar with the high school.
Okay, well, St. Mary's Academy is, as you said, is an all-boys secondary school. It started in 1932, so it's about 32. Sorry, 92 to in 93 years in existence. It started as a small school for young men in the spirit of blessed our founder, Blessed Edmund Rice, and it it really, when the Christian brothers started it, and it was done to empower our young men at the time, because at that time, in the year like 1932, education for young men was not, it was not as available as it is now. So we had various Christian brothers serving, a lot coming from Canada. Some of them were Canadians, and then they went over to New York to train, and then they came to Dominica and they served. So we had, quite a bit of them. When I came to SMA to teach, we had Brother Harry French, and Brother Wakeham, who were teaching at the school still. But we know before that we had we could always remember Brother Egbert German. He was a local, and he did quite a lot for the school in terms of the discipline and empowering young men and sports and so on. So he did his share. Of course, after years of using just one building. We had one building at the end because before that they were on Virgin Lane before they moved over to where SMA is now. They went ahead and Brother Egbert Germain decided to, with the help of others, to put up a new wing because the school was expanding and wanted to make room for more young men. So the new wing was put up, and then in that wing we have 3 floors. One on the ground floor you have the library, and you have the physics lab. The second floor you have 1 classroom, the staff room, and the computer lab. On the third floor, there are 4 classrooms. Now, in the construction of that building, a lot of assistance was given by Mr. Wadi Asafan, God rest his soul. And so the building is named, the classes there are named WA1, WA2, WA3, WA4, WA5. WA meaning Wadi Astafan because he donated a lot to the school. The steel is a steel frame building, so he assisted with that. All the tiles and so on. He gave quite a great contribution to this to the construction of that building, and so we have now. Now to jump ahead a bit, in 2017. We had the passage of Hurricane Maria on September 18, and this did some damage. At first, it looked as if, SMA was unscathed by the hurricane, but we later found out, that it was not quite so, because we lost some of the roofing sheets, we lost gutterings, and so on. And it was that most of the damage was in that concentrated in the end classrooms. And this particular one, WA4, the one that is closest to the St. Gerard's Hall, we had a lot of damage in the roof going, and then they tried to replace some of the thing because the building is quite high. It's a 3-story building. So it held out for a little bit, but now it started showing. The ceiling went. The roof was leaking, water is coming into the building, into the classroom. Students had to move around when it was raining. One time there was one, they opened an umbrella in the classroom.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was bad. It's bad. So in the end, we had to stop using the building because also Ministry of Health and Environment came by to visit, to inspect and so, and we were told that this classroom is no longer fit for teaching students.
Yeah, and
So
I want us to talk, about the impact that has had with, being able to teach the students and the accommodations of the students. But what I want us to talk about, even before we get there, is the importance of SMA. And I think you, Patrick, and Alvin, as what we like to call, quote unquote, old boys of SMA, no one can explain to us the essence of SMA better than the two of you. So I want you to kind of tell us the essence of SMA and why it is so important to Dominica, because even as a young girl attending the convent high school, my brother attended SMA, and I tell you, the one thing we knew very well is about those canons, about the discipline that was instilled in the young men. So as an outsider looking in, that is what I firmly know about SMA. But you guys, as former students, I want you to tell us about the essence. Why is SMA so important, especially as it relates to the foundation that you and thousands of other young men and now men who are of age received from SMA? So tell us about the essence of SMA.
Well, Patrick, you want to go? You want me to go? All right. Well, if I may start, and yes, just Sylvia capsulated quite well. Actually, the school was founded on April the 4th, 1932, with 13 students upstairs of the St. Gerard's Hall. So think of where we are now, almost 93 years later. I think the school population now is a little over 300. 330 something plus.
Mm-hmm.
But our motto, the SMA motto, is ora et labora. Ora et labora, which is a Latin phrase which means work and pray. Pray and work. That's what the school stands for. And I know Sylvia will maybe refer to it later, but let me just read for you, Simon, the SMA's vision. What is the vision of the school for the young men that crosses through the halls? We envision an academy where the aims of Christian education and the development of the whole person, spiritually, intellectually, physically, and morally takes place. We envision a school where Christian politeness and respect among teachers and students is paramount and apparent. So that tells you, if you don't observe that, you'll get the cane that you just referred to. We envision a school which graduates men of honor and integrity to contribute to the building of Dominica, where justice and peace prevail and aggression and violence no longer exist. We envision a school in which the charity prevails and in which the flourishing of persons is more important than the perfecting of things. That's the vision of the SMA. So it encapsulates there not just education, morality, integrity, value, community service, you name it. That is what it encapsulates. And the mission statement now says, the mission statement of the school to give priority to education in a living faith. Again, remember ora et labora, whereby students grow to appreciate the life and mission of Jesus Christ with a view of being committed to the world as he was. 2, to help to have special concerns for poor and the underprivileged. 3, to develop a curriculum which promotes the harmonious development of the whole person. The Catholic School SMA works at forming a community composed of students, teachers, parents, management, and staff, and that community seeks to live by the gospel's value, recognize the dignity of each individual, contribute to the building of the local community, and work for peace and justice in society. So it is quite broad, and that is what, as you know, we call ourselves sometimes SMA. You know what this acronym means, SMA? The smartest men alive.
Oh, okay. Did not know that. But I agree. Both my dad and my brother went there, so I agree.
And you know, and I'm sure you can attest to that they're both the smartest men alive.
Absolutely.
So this is what you got out of SMA. And that is why I'm so passionate about that school. You know, this is my alma mater. When I talk about SMA, it gives me goosebumps because this is what we got from the school. We did not just get an education. We got an all grounding. And I know Sylvia mentioned Brother Jermaine. In my days when I went there back in 1970, I graduated in 75, did my 5 years there. You had Brother Bassett, Brother Thorne. I mean, they were literally brothers. And it instilled in us that discipline. And that's what made us what we are today. And if you look around, I mean, you could see several persons who have gone through that school who are now in some very prominent positions at all levels whatsoever. When we get later down in the program, I will share with you some of the members of the committee, which I now chair, and see what a broad spectrum of persons that we are. By the way, your brother, Wayne Senhouse, was the recipient of the Principal's Award in 1990. He got the Principal Award. Wayne got that award. So it just shows you what the school represents and what the persons who pass through the school represent. And let me just say very quickly, and I'll end and let Patrick jump in. The school was founded in 1932. And 10 years later, in 1942, Dr. D.O.N. McIntyre was an Island Scholarship, winner of an Island Scholarship, and an old boy of SMA. He went to SMA. Of course, Sylvia mentioned Wadi Astafan, who was also, this is Wadi, who was also an old boy. And the list can go on and on and on. Several who are alive and several who have passed on. So that is what we are, the smartest men alive. Go ahead, Pat.
Yes, and as I'm coming to Patrick as well, I think it is so important that we're talking about, very importantly, the characteristics that were instilled in the men who went to SMA, because I think what we're saying is that those characteristics have continued to live within them to lead to their success, but it's also characteristics that they've been able to pass on to the next generation. Because again, I'm speaking from my own experience with my brother having attended SMA and seeing the sort of discipline and other characteristics that has led to his success, and seeing now he is now passing this on to his 15-year-old and his 18-year-old sons,
Absolutely.
so that so it's a legacy. It's creating that legacy within the young men that they're able to pass on. And I also
Absolutely.
wanted to mention, as we're talking about the characteristics, just the fact that it is an all-male school. Because speaking as someone who went to an all-female school, I know one of the greatest benefits I gained from that experience is the fact that there was no distraction.
All
There
right.
was no distraction with the opposite sex. So all you had to do was to focus and compete with
That's
the
true.
girl sitting to your left and the girl sitting to your right. So speaking from that perspective, I can assume that it was the same with the St. Mary's Academy. So Patrick, your thoughts?
But let me just say, Simon, although after school we used to pass at the back by the convent,
And we
we
used to
take a
and we
chance
used to
we
be
used to wait
and we
for
used to be
that
waiting
come.
for you to
And
pass.
you all used to wait for us to pass.
We used to wait with bated breath and point out the boys we like.
But the point you made about the young men, because my two sons went to SME, both
Right.
Calvin and Keenan. And although I may not want to blow the trumpet for them, you know them. And you
Yes.
know what kind of boys they are. So
Yes.
you're right. But Patrick, over to you, bro.
Yeah, and just to add to the conversation, I went to SMA from 1990 to 1995, and brother Jermaine happened to come back around that same time to be principal, and the discipline and the education and the just attention to us, the students, that we do well. He brought that back, and I remember him, just walking around. So the teachers would be in the classroom, and he'd be walking around each classroom, and we used to call him Brother Fox, because he was like a fox just sneaking up, and he just tell you, come, point on you, come, and you get a killing if you misbehave. So even if you want to take advantage of a young teacher, he was always on the lookout. But it was really to help us focus. And to this day, I can call Brother Jimmy a dear friend. And as you had me said, my experience was such that I came from humble beginnings. So many times I would get lunch at the brother's home and dinner as well. And one of the things that was happening at the time when I went to SMA, when you're in your junior year about to do GCA exams, and your senior year about to do CXC exams, you'd come back to the school in the evening to study. And these guys, the brothers, they were so welcoming, allowing us to stay there past midnight, and really anyone that came through to, to really go and study. And that was huge, right? And that allowed us to make what I call lifelong friends. So I got married in 2018, and 3 out of 5 of my groomsmen were friends from SMA, right? So you got to make lifelong friends, and you get to be education, sports, and everything that the school represented. We really wore that crest with pride. You didn't want to you didn't want to leave SMA and like after school just take out your crest. You'd keep that on, right? You keep that until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, right? To let everybody know that you're going to SA if you're not at the library or anywhere in town, right? So this was I call it the really good days when we um really wanted people that we went to SMA, and that meant a lot, right? And again, that's why we're here as well, ready to give back. And as you said, I can count X amount of my colleagues that's here in the US, former SMA alumni that's really doing well, and all that started with our foundation in SMA.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Sylvia, I want to come to you in a little while to talk about the impact and what is really needed from the school. But I want us to stay on the impact of SMA for just a little bit longer. And I keep looking up because in front of me there's a collage with a picture of me and my brother, our school uniforms, and the pride, just watching the way my brother is standing with such pride because, and of course me standing in pride as well, because he's in that uniform, because that uniform gives a sense of pride, a sense of dignity, a sense of you are representing an institution of honor, an institution that you should be proud to be attending. But the other thing, Alvin, I want us to talk about the different areas that SMA men are now dominating. So that information that you wanted to present, I think this is a good time to present this as we talk about the essence. And I was listening to Mouvement Creole, our Q95 Creole program yesterday, and I was listening to Gregory Rabes. Did not know he graduated from SMA, but he did.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he was recounting his experience of going to SMA, where he actually stayed in a hostel. So I guess
That's
there
right.
was boarding available at that
That's
time.
right.
And he went with the likes of, what's his name, Gordon Henderson,
That's right.
and some other well-known folks in culture
Yeah.
at this point. And he was just recounting that SMA was not just about academics, but also about the culture. He recounted that he learned to play the guitar on a box guitar that they all circulated and they all learned to play. So I want us to kind of delve a little bit into all the different sectors that we now know where the men of SMA have currently gone on to, and just showing the impact that they're now having on Dominica, the Caribbean, and the world.
Well, if I may just start, as you talk about culture, one of the leading bands, Dominica now, Signal Band, the
Yes.
leader of that band, Shelley, is an
Yes.
SMA old boy.
Yes, and he's a Harvard graduate. Let's throw that in as
And a
well.
Harvard graduate, absolutely. And Triple K, one of the two of the guys, the lead singer is SMA. You mentioned Gordon Henderson, Exile One, SMA. You mentioned Gramax, Jeff Joseph, and T-Palm, and all these guys, SMA. Tim Dura, SMA. All these musical guys. Root Stems and Branches, those guys, SMA. I
If
mean,
I
you
want,
can
if I want to add Dice and Daryl Bob as
guys,
well.
guys.
And
Yeah,
Effects Band, that's my brother's
Effects
band,
Band.
SMA. Wow.
SMA. Dice 10 times Calypso King, SMA. That's why I tell you, it's SMA, the smartest men alive.
And I also believe Wadix went to SMA, if I'm
Wadix,
not mistaken.
SMA,
Thompson
yes.
Fontaine went to SMA.
SMA. So, I mean, we can go on and on and on. So it extends just not culture, but economics, business, engineering. I mean, the whole gamut of professions you will see on your SMA. Patrick, the first Prime Minister of Dominica, Patrick Roland John, SMA. Edison James, SMA. All of those guys went to SMA. Babs Dyer, SMA. Den Shillingford, SMA. I mean, the list can go on and on. I think you had Kofi. Kofi, you said Kofi's
Yes.
on here. Kofi James,
Yes.
SMA.
Wow.
So, in terms of the committee that we have, if I may just mention in terms of that broad spectrum as well, you have Patrick there, which is a digital marketing personal business owner. We have on the committee Steve Astafan, a civil engineer, general contractor, SMA. Dave Bellot, an electrical engineer. Kamal Binwa, an architect based in New York, has his own company, his own business. Oswald Butran, he's a health care leader in California. You have Akroy Birmingham, an accountant based in the US. Akroy was at one time the accountant for the Dominica Cooperative Credit Union League for many, many years. You have Kevin Daniel. He too is a healthcare leader, leading a whole department at the University of Florida. Michael Davis, he's an attorney on the committee as well, based somewhere in Washington, D.C. Nigel Francis, talented cultural icon in Dominica. Sylvester Henry, another accountant. He also taught at SMA. We have Dr. Codell Laza, He's a teacher at the SMA. Geoffrey Levy, sorry. He's a researcher and a lecturer. He's on the committee. Trevor Johnson, a chartered quantity surveyor, TOSI.
Darcy.
Leonard Joseph, he's a health professional and a financial planner in the States. Gary Moore, a human specialist and educator. Miguel Murphy, higher education officer at the university in Miami, based somewhere in Miami. Kurt Robinson, who also received the Brother German Award back in 1989. He's a licensed contractor. Tariq Roll, an engineer, construction engineer. Rennick Thomas, a machinist in Canada. And all of those names I call, they're part of that committee. So you see how the broadly spread that we have on that committee. And like I said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So clearly, SMA has contributed to the foundation and the development of Dominica. Let me also add, it was the brothers and SMA who introduced basketball to Dominica. Yep. Basketball started in SMA. When the Christian brothers came, that is where folks like Joseph, Flossie Joseph's son, his name doesn't come to mind, but Cuthbert Elwin, all of those guys learned to play basketball at the SMA. And SMA did very well in sports. You had persons like Joseph Geese, who represented the school and played cricket at Windward Island level for SMA. All of those folks came through SMA.
Yeah, and you know, talking about how the legacy continues, Alvin, as you mentioned, basketball, I'm also thinking Dunstan Maggie Peters is
That's
from
right.
SMA. And not only is did he make a huge contribution to bouillon music, right? As we're talking about culture, he's also continuing to make tremendous contribution to sports. He's a coach right now with his own coaching business. So we can see, we can certainly see the impact. And of course, you know, during this program, we're calling on everyone to make a contribution, to make a donation in some way to the roof rehabilitation project. But I'm going to lean particularly on the old boys of SMA, because they're the ones who directly benefited the most from the institution. So we're making a very special shout out to everyone from SMA, even those like me who were impacted by having a brother or a relative go to SMA. We're calling on everyone to make a contribution. But I want to go back to you, Sylvia, because we want to kind of delve into the issue. So you started talking about the impact of Hurricane Maria in 2017. So just kind of tell us, you know, when the issue began, how it is ongoing, and even the health issues that are resulting from the roof not being rehabilitated at this point.
Okay. Well, as I said, during the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017, the school got some, especially the new in the Egbo German wing, it sustained some damage. It didn't look visible at first, but then, you know, it started showing up. So it became a health hazard to a certain extent. That part of that particular classroom, right in the end, WA4, it became a hazard because we couldn't use it. We couldn't use it anymore because of the water coming in, and you know, it just was not suitable for classroom instruction and so. So the environmental health people, they did come by, and then they said, but we were making efforts to have the roof repaired. At first, we had a costing of around 90, a little excess of 90,000 EC dollars. But the price went up. As the longer you stay, the cost of material went up, and so it became it became a little more difficult to do. Then we tried to do little fundraising activities, like we held a raffle, we had a little barbecue and so on, but this really was not sufficient to really raise the kind of money needed. So some time ago, we had in 2022, we had an estimate done, and we saw that it was around, it came up to 300 and something thousand.
Wow.
and we realized that that's not cutting it. So in a graduation address, I spoke to, I mentioned it. And of course, I also mentioned it at PT and see what we could do. Some of past students, they would always come and speak up and to come and, give a little contribution here and there. But we needed quite a large sum to really do something. Now, there were folks who, they tried to see how they could assist. But, it's not a one-man job. It's not a one person or two person thing, because 300 and something $1,000 is a lot to raise at that point, and with things being as difficult as they are. So in the graduation speech of 2000, report of 2024, I mentioned it. And then from there, Mr. Alvin Thomas heard about it. Well, he heard the graduation report and followed it up because we had it on, it was live stream. And then he decided to call me about it and, discuss how we could do that. And, and from there, we started putting a committee together and, consulting with me, and and we spoke a lot about it. And then we got people on, and the number we started with, about having a handful of us. I was 5 or 6, and then it went up. The number is now we have about a whole pool, 15 of us maybe on the committee, and everyone has there's we have the big committee, but we have subcommittees for special responsibilities and so, and everyone there, they are assigned a task to suit their expertise. And then we come across, well, lately we came across some other guys who, when we had a program on one of the radio stations, and past students will say, but I didn't know about that. I want to be a part of that. And they were all excited. And so they contacted, Alvin. And so now we have people still looking to come on and to assist, give the assistance, and which we are really grateful for. And we'll continue to work. It is not as easy as I might be putting it, because it took quite a bit of planning. Thank God we have Alvin there, who is the mastermind behind this thing, and he was able to to organize and put structure in place, and so he could really do the thing properly. Now,
Yeah. Good.
this is not something that we just doing, everybody just put in money. So we have a structure in place. We have an account was opened in the United States. And before even the account being opened, there are certain things that they had to put in place, because you remember we in all this money laundering and scammers and so on. So they had to get the 501. Was it the Alvin 501?
501c3.
503?
Yeah,
Get that
501c3.
Yes.
501c3 to get that done. And before the account could be started, and make sure everything was above board, because and then in Dominica we opened an account at the NBD, and it took a little while to get all aspects of it done, but it is done. The account is open. We have a mobile banking platform, and then this we could people could assist.
Yeah, and before we talk about the accounts, and of course, everyone who's listening and watching via Facebook, I want you to grab a pen and paper so you can take down the information so you can make a donation. But what it brings to mind is, again, back to Convent High School, one of the first expressions I learned is a stitch in time saves 9.
Right.
So as we can see, the fact that the funds were not available took what was a $90,000 EC problem and has now made it into an over $300,000 problem. So it kind of speaks to the need to be a little bit more urgent, so that when we find folks are calling out for assistance, we make an urgent effort to assist, because we can all see how a $90,000 problem can escalate into a $300,000 project. But
Yeah.
before we talk about the 501(c),
Let me
Alvin,
just,
hold the thought, write it down quickly, because I wanted to just ask Sylvia, because I know that there are other schools, there are other institutions that are struggling in Dominica. So I just wanted to get a sense of how it felt to know that you are no longer alone with this, because so many other schools, other institutions, other organizations have major issues, major challenges that they're seeking assistance with. But there's no white horse, there's no external assistance coming to their aid. So what did that feel like when you initially got the call that this foundation was going to assist with the roof in St. Mary's Academy?
Well, I said, merci bon Dieu, thanks be to God. I was really, I mean, say, I really had to give God thanks, because,
Yes.
we didn't know how we were going to do it, because we tried, little things, but we realized it was the amount that we had to raise. We just didn't have it. So when Alvin came, and that felt like a God sent,
Yes.
you know,
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
then we
Yes,
have,
and I think it is just wonderful to hear how it keeps growing, that more and more people are coming on board. So we're actually, I'm hoping that because of this program, even additional folks will come aboard, whether you went to St. Mary's Academy or not. The fact that it is an investment in the young people, in the youth of Dominica. And, Alvin and I have been talking about doing a program on the crisis of our young men. So we know particular attention needs to be placed on our young men and the challenges that they're currently facing. And here you have an institution that is dedicated to the education and the upbringing of young men. So we really need to invest in it. And Alvin, before I come over for what you were about to say, I have to give you your flowers while you're alive, Alvin Thomas. I don't think we spend enough time thanking you for your service to country, because Alvin is the man that you call on him. I've had so many occasions where people have come on board and they said, yes, 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 we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to start a database of Dominicans all over the world, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And 2 weeks later, they're no longer taking my call. Mind you, it was their idea, right? And they brought it to me. 2 weeks later, they are nowhere to be found. But Alvin, I want to thank you personally and publicly, because you have dedicated your life to Dominica. I cannot remember a time, Alvin, where you are not only involved, but passionate about serving your country, serving humanity. And that very famous line that you like from JCI, service to man is you will
service to
finish it.
humanity is the best work of life.
Thank you. That is one that I keep very close to my heart. So I want to publicly thank you, Alvin, for your service. And Alvin, your energy. I consider myself a very energetic person, but Alvin gets on the phone with me and I'm thinking to myself, I'm speaking to a 30-year-old, because the way Alvin comes across with the energy, the passion that he has for everything that he does for Dominica without asking for a penny in return. Alvin, I just wanted to take a minute to publicly thank you and to publicly recognize you for all that you do and all that you continue to do. And we hope that you live another 100 years with all the energy, so you can continue to inspire young people like me to keep going, to keep the fight. So I just wanted to put this on public record for you. So over to you, Alvin.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Simon. You want to make me cry now, man. Why are you doing that to me? Yeah? Why you want to embarrass me on public
No.
TV like that?
It's the truth.
No, but thank you. I mean, you've heard it, and several persons have heard it on various platforms that I've appeared. Service to humanity is the best work of life. And that's what keeps me going. That's the legacy that I have. And I think I'm blessed. I have a beautiful family. I'm happily married. beautiful children, 7 lovely grandchildren. So I'm blessed. I know God is blessing me back for whatever I do for humanity. But just to piggyback a little on Sylvia's comments, actually the estimated budget now to do the repair is a little over $480,000, just shy of $500,000.
Wow.
And that includes and like you said, the fact that this year will be 8 years since Hurricane Maria. So with a leaking roof, mold is going to build in.
Yeah.
It's going to rot. Currently, as we speak, a classroom is condemned. So that means the school cannot accommodate a bigger enrollment. They have to kind of squeeze and work with what they have. There was no insulation in the ceiling. At the time, this building, let me just give a little brief history. In March 5th of 1992, 33 years ago, was when the project started to build that wing. It was chaired then by Dr. D.O.N. McIntyre. He was chairman of that committee. And you had that on that committee with him, persons like Roderick Fortune. This is Roderick Fortune. This is Wadi Astafan and several other persons. And they decided, and I think the building opened somewhere about 4 or 5 years later, 96 thereabout. Okay, so the roof itself have lived its life. It's over 26 plus or more years old. There was no so the ceiling insulation, nothing like that. So that $480,000 is going to take the cost to replace the entire roof, to put ceiling and insulation, and to replace some broken windows. Anyone who is in Dominica walks by, they will see how some of the windows are damaged. So it includes all of that. And of course, the original building needs some help, but that is not included in that. This is somewhere down the road. The woodwork section that they have needs some help. The roof is almost completely dilapidated. So when this thing came about, like how I operate, Simon, I operate a structure. So following discussion with Sylvia and and the rest of the team, this is a team effort. I must state too that we got the full blessing of the bishop, because bear in mind, this is a Catholic school, it's a Catholic property. The new bishop endorsed it. He's put his signature on it and he said, guys, you have my green light, go ahead with it. And the bishop and the principal together decided, hey, committee, go ahead with it. That estimate was done. There is a young man by the name of Brian Charles. He's a contractor that does work for all the buildings under the diocese. As a matter of fact, I think he was the one who did the renovation at the Goodwill Parish Hall. And persons who are familiar with that renovation will see how beautiful a renovation it was. Brian Charles. And then you had Steve Astafan, Tariq Roll, who is now the diocesan engineer for the diocese. Kamal being one of the architect engineer, Trevor Johnson, as I say, a quantity surveyor. These were the technical people who did their quantities, look whatever they look, check this, 2x4, 6x4, whatever it is. That's not my area. And they came up and they say, guys, this is what it's going to cost us to do it. And like Sylvia said, we pretty much started from ground zero, because then we had to establish an account at National Bank, which has still been established. It has a mobile banking platform attached to it. So anybody wants to do a mobile banking transfer, it can be done. And then in addition to that, we decided, you know what? This thing is going to be a little more than just a roof. And therefore, we decided among ourselves, the committee, that it was necessary for us to register as a 501c3 in the US, which we have done. So we filed for registration. We filed in the state. It's filed in the state of Florida. And the reason why we filed it, of course, because 3 of the members on the committee, Nigel Francis, Miguel Murphy, and Henry Sylvester, they all 3 reside. They're members of the committee and they reside in Florida. So we're able to file it in the state of Florida. So we are registered as an incorporated in the state of Florida as the St. Mary's Academy Alumni Infrastructural and Development Fund Incorporated. So Based on that, we were able to open a US bank account. So we now have a US bank account with Bank of America. And we'll share all the information later on how folks can make donation. We have our bylaws. We have bylaws set up. We have articles of incorporation set up. We have a board of directors currently in place. And we have the wider committee. So all the necessary structures to give this thing some fit to run and to make it legit, because we want as much transparency and accountability in this matter. Transparency and accountability. And remember, as I say, St. Mary's men are men of integrity and value. That's what we do. So whatever we do has to have a good level of accountability and transparency. And therefore, we were able to put all of those structures in place. And we're now on the road to raise the monies, which we are confident we can raise.
Yep.
You're talking about just a little over 180,000 US dollars. Yes. And that is easy money to raise.
Yeah, and Alvin, I'm happy you mentioned the structure, because that is also an area that many of our people have good intentions. We all have good intentions, but many times the structure is lacking. So in terms of longevity, we always have to think longevity. So yes, we're doing this. And one of the things I'm happy we're going to talk about during this program is how this goes beyond just rehabilitating the roof, how it goes beyond just the infrastructures, and where else you're going to go with the developmental fund that you're working with. But I want to come to you, Patrick, because I want us to start talking about the subcommittees and the roles of the subcommittees. But before we do, let's just take a quick break. It is now 9 o'clock in Dominica, 8 o'clock here in Atlanta. So let us just take a quick break, grab some water, take a breather as we go over to the studio to have Lambi give out the numbers. So Patrick, just keep in mind, when we come back, we're going to talk about the subcommittees and the roles of the subcommittees. So Lambi, let's get the phone number for anyone who wants to call us. And then I will also grab some of the comments on Facebook. Facebook, I see you with the comments. Keep them coming. I'm going to come and comments in just a little bit. Lambi, over to you.
Roots connected in queue, taking your calls. The numbers to access here is as follow: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. These are all local numbers. The overseas or international number is 305-432-9624. Let me run those numbers again. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. All local numbers. And the international number, 305-432-9624. And we're standing by for your calls. Back to you, Simone.
Yes, thank you for that. So let's see. On Facebook, we have Owen Prosper. Good evening, Patriotic Family, host and guest. I'm here locked in, as always. Thank you, Owen, for being here. Carl Kofi James, greetings and blessings, Simone, and the rest of the panel. Nice to see you, Carl. Rosa Robinson, good evening, Mr. Thomas. Cecil Schillingford, nice to see you, Cecil. Miami Gardens, Florida is locked in. Peter Azil, Peter from Atlanta is here. Oswald Butchman is listening from Canada. Thank you for being here. Oswald, Carl Kofi James says, Lambi and Sherwin, bless up and thanks for your service to the cause. Andrew Ilwa, I hope I said that correct, watching from Texas. Simone, nice to see you, Andrew. Peter Thomas, good evening. Margot LaRock, hey, Margot, what's up? Every male in my family went to SMA. My mom, Medina Senhouse. Good night, D.A. Rose and panel watching and listening. Patricia Fontaine, good night, listening. Margot also says, these boys on a whole another level. We power. Oh, Lord, Margot, speak for correctly. Some of you old school students need to talk to them. Yes, maybe a mentorship program. And guys, if you're on Facebook, the link for the fund is already there in the comment section, but I will repeat it in just a little bit. So you can simply go in the comment section and click on that link. Oswald Bertrand says, Brother John Lewis, I'm assuming you mean he went to SMA as well, or he taught there. Margot, thanks for mentioning Maggie. I'll let him know. Margot, I'll be sure to send him the program as well. Margot also says, let me add my brother Owen LaRock and all his smart sons to the list of SMA. And then she says, I really admire Alvin, always willing to get bless you, Alvin. And then she says, give him his flowers, Simone. Absolutely. Tawana Thomas. Hey, Tawana. That's Alvin's daughter. Hey, Tawana. Nice to see you. He always exercises integrity and compassion in his involvement. Linford George. Hi, guys. Good stuff. Evelyn James watching from Toronto. So, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. And I am going to go and start posting the information for how to make a donation. So, this is the option for a tax-free, tax-deductible donation. We mentioned making sure you have your pen and pencil available if you're listening on the radio. So, it's going to be www.sma.alumnifund.org. So again, www.sma, then alumni, ALUMNI fund, FUND.org to make a tax deductible donation. And we will also have additional ways that you can make a donation. So Alvin, make sure you have the Zelle information as well as the Mo banking information as we start sharing the ways that folks can make a donation. So now let's open up the conversation, and we're just going to talk about the subcommittees and the role of the subcommittees for the foundation. So Patrick, let's begin with you.
Yeah, thank you. So again, I want to kind of reiterate what you're talking about, Alvin. So I met Alvin a few weeks ago, and Miguel introduced us, and they were kind of asking me about participating in this. And initially, I was like, well, you know what, I'm busy, and I can only have a minimal role. But Alvin, I want to say, is really someone you don't say no to. His energy, his leadership, lead by example, right? So he spent time of his day talking to me, and I was like, okay, this is something I really want to contribute to. So I joined, and I am part of the communication subcommittee. And the team we've assembled overall, the board, is I call it tour de force, right? So our meetings are so energetic, and the time flies by, right? And you don't even know it's going by. We meet sometimes on a Friday night, on a Sunday night, and 2 hours just fly by. So we have some very committed members here as part of this committee. So I'm part of the communications committee, and our role is really to get the message out, right? So the website, the donation page, the ways to communicate, different ways to donate. And while we're on the topic of donations and contributions, I one of my best friends, he is from St. Lucia, and he went to I call it the SMA Vision in St. Lucia. He went to that school, and he went to St. Lucia a few years ago. He's telling me that the school doesn't look like you remember it. The school is kind of broken down, and it's like someone has to take care of the school. And I looked at them and said, "That someone is you, and that someone is me for SMA." Right. So sometimes we're always thinking that it's somebody else. And yes, there's maybe some people with deeper pockets that get wings named after them, like Wadi Astafan, right? But I remember that wing. So when I went to SCB during 1990 to 95, every year we did a bel marché to raise funds for building of that wing. And the reason I'm saying that is, you're told that to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, but to put a building together is one brick at a time. To put a roof together is one garbage at a time. And every penny, every, even if you can give $20, 100, 500, 5,000, and the entire 180,000, we'll welcome it, right? So every penny counts for raising funds for the roof. And it's not just a roof, it's a building that educates young men like myself. And we, the young men that went, and persons listening, as I say, it's not that somebody else that you're thinking about that could make a donation. That somebody else is you, right? And we've, as I said, we have a team. We assembled a team, and of very capable people, very dedicated people, to bring this to fruition. So it's not coincidence that you have us here tonight. It's not a coincidence. And so that's what I want to share about that. And we have different, as other committees. We know a committee that, we know our board that take care of different aspects. But right now you're hearing from the communications and marketing committee right now, and that's me. I'm one of the members.
Yeah, thank you for that. Sylvia, any other committees we can talk about?
Yes, we do have the finance committee led by Mr. Ackroy Birmingham. We have the marketing and communication, you just said. We have the technical and engineering led by Steve and Tariq and Kamal. And we have the events planning and logistics led by Nigel Francis. We also have Alvin and Cordell on that. And we have the volunteer network, which would be Rennick Thomas and Gary Moore and myself.
And just tell us some of the things, some of the responsibilities of these committees.
Well, first, for one, let's look at the finance committee. They are the ones that were in the formation of the 501c3 to start the bank account, and to be reporting on all the finances that come in, and even soliciting for funding as well. So you look at bank balances, you're also looking at the building insurance, and so these are their responsibilities. The marketing and communication, we had Miguel working with that, and now we have Mr. Patrick Alexander, and they'll be looking at launching a survey because they're trying to get a database for all the SMA gentlemen around the world, and spreading the word, and putting SMA out there. We have a platform so that people could could donate and so. And then we have the technical and engineering committee led by Steve, Asafan, and Tariq, and Kamal, and Trevor, and Brian. These people worked at the estimates and looking at the whole construction of the building itself, the roof, and what is best, and things that we should do. The events planning and logistics, that's led by Nigel. So we launched the project in all media outlets. That's what we did. We did some like what we're doing tonight, and then we did some earlier on with John Baptist Luge. We had a program on Saturday morning, connecting the dots, and this got some good reviews. And then we have the volunteer network. This is led by Rennick Thomas, and this is an outreach to all SMA old boys, they say, but I like to say SMA alumni. So they do that.
They don't mind.
Yeah, I'm on the committee and in administration here. So I give updates as the principal. I give updates on the NBD and mobile banking and anything else that is happening on the ground. So basically,
yeah, and I think it's so important because that all lends itself to transparency. so that
Yes.
everyone knows what is going on within the organization. But I have a tricky question for you guys. So is the alumni only, is the fund, the foundation only open to SMA alumni?
Oh no, 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 no,
I
no,
think
no,
I
no.
think that is a
No, 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 no,
question
no, no,
many
no, no, no,
people.
no, no.
I think that's a question many people are
No, no, no,
thinking.
no,
I'm
no, no,
not
no,
from.
no, no,
I'm
no,
not
no,
an
no.
SMA alumni.
No, no,
Can
no,
I
no, no, no,
join?
no, no, no. This is open to all and sundries.
Okay,
As
good.
they say, charity begins at home.
Yes.
So charity begins at home, yes, the alumni, SMA alumni, but it's open to all and sundries because, like you just said earlier, your dad went to SMA, your
Yep.
son, your brother went to SMA, and there's this passion for SMA. My two sons went to SMA, but my daughter, it will contribute to the fund as well, and
Right.
several other persons. So no, but let me just say very quickly though,
Yes.
in terms of the committees, and like I mentioned to you earlier, we have some really good expertise on those committees. So if you take, for example, the engineering and technical committee, the persons on there are actually engineers and technical persons in their own rights and field. So you have Steve Astafan, an engineer contractor, Tariq, an engineer, Kamal, an architect, Trevor, quantity surveyor, Brian, another person in technical. And if you look at finance, which is headed by Ackroyd, he's a finance person, accountant. Leonard Joseph, a finance. Henry, another finance person. So what we have done, we have structured the committee whereby persons with their respective expertise can lend to that committee. So rather than put take Patrick. Patrick owns a web page and marketing company here in Atlanta. I'll plug in something for him. So he's on that committee. So one of the things we are going to do, which is almost done, we're going to set up the website, which that should happen very soon. And we are going to engage the current population, the students, engage them in the project as well. So there will be a few of them who like this thing website, these young guys like those things, will be responsible for maintaining the website, updating it, keeping it alive, and all that kind of stuff. And also we have a group of students that are going to be working on creating an online sort of database of the school. One of the difficulties that the school faced during the two last hurricanes was that since a lot of the records were paper driven, they got lost. So in the process, you lose the history.
Yep.
So we're now going to get the students engaged in a program where all of that can be digital. Because the school this year is 93. 7 shy year from now will be 100. When we get to that 100, we want to have a big celebration, those of us who are here. So we want to begin collecting that data, create that digital platform, and have all that information archived in there. So anything happen, we can't lose it. So this is one of the other things we are doing. Now, let me just say quickly too, though, in terms of the 501c and the foundation that we formed, the prime objective, there are 4 objectives of the fund. One is to improve and maintain the school's facility. Over time, there's going to be problems, lost windows, damaged windows, wear and tear. 2, to provide scholarships and financial assistance to students in need. 3, to enhance academic and extracurricular resources. And 4, to promote alumni engagement and support for the school community. This is the 4 broad objectives of our, as outlined in our bylaws for the alumni and the fund. So as we speak now, since we developed that project concept and the fact that we are now established as a 501c3, we have begun to engage other institutions and foundations in the US. And a week ago, we got a very big surprise communication to us with an institute that we are speaking now to embark upon a project with them. We can't disclose the details yet because we are still in discussion stage. But all I can say to you is that we made a request to that institute, and we said that we want to be able to have a climate resilient school design. We also want to create what we consider innovative learning programs for the school. And we want to do that in a way that allows for community involvement. And they were impressed with that. And they responded back and say, hey, we need to talk to you guys. That particular institute, as we speak, is doing a huge project in Barbados where they're building a state-of-the-art school, I understand. So as I said, we can't disclose too much right now, but we are hoping that we can engage institutions and organizations like themselves and other foundations in the US, whereby we can present projects on behalf of the school to expand. Because
Yeah,
the young men in Dominica, and you and I have had that conversation several
yes,
times,
yes.
it is felt that our young men are on the edge. And how do we bring them back? And I think that too is what challenged me, and that is what challenged all of us on the committee. How do we bring our young men back? And there's some that will be academic, and there's some that may be technical. How do we bring them back? The school has an agriculture program where they do some little agriculture. We want to enhance that. They have a woodwork program. We want to enhance that. So we want to enhance computer. There's a computer program. We want to enhance that. So that when the young men leave SMA, those who may not be so academic inclined may go into agriculture, start a business in agriculture, start a business in woodwork, start a business in computer, whatever it is. So it's a sustained effort that we have. However, we are starting with the roof project as the first phase.
Yeah, and I'm happy you mentioned that, Alvin, because we have to go back to the importance of creating that structure, because without that structure, you cannot seek funding. So
Absolutely.
that is another way that we are limiting ourselves when we
Absolutely.
do things without a structure. Again, I go back to that passion that we all have for Dominica, that passion we all have for our people. But when we do not take time to invest in creating the structures that are needed, then we're limiting our ability to seek funding. Because
Absolutely.
now, like you mentioned, there are many organizations that are providing funding, grant funding for climate resilient buildings, for climate resilient initiatives. So
Mhm.
now you have the opportunity to benefit
Tap
from
into
that
that resource.
because you've created the structure. So many times we say, oh boy, that's so much work, but I have to do all this and I have to do all that. But if you're a visionary thinking and you're thinking beyond the project that is in front of you, then you realize it is important. So thank you for serving as an example of how this should be done to be able to secure the funding through grant funding so that we can provide the finances for what we're trying to do on the ground. But Patrick, let's talk about other events, other fundraising events that you guys might be going on. And I also want to continue the conversation, and Sylvia, I invite you to join in as well, because we talked about beyond the infrastructure. And Alvin has already alluded to it in terms of talking about the database, in terms of talking about what I'm hearing could potentially be a mentorship program with all the men that are now on board and all the other men and women who will come on board who already have the skills and expertise, and they will now be able to provide mentorship to our young men, our young women on the ground, because a lot of our young people are craving direction. They're craving somebody to say, look, I've been where you've been. I've walked in the shoes that you're walking in. And here I am. Here's what I've been able to accomplish. So let me just give you a little bit of guidance. So let's talk about your fundraising events. Let's talk about, beyond the infrastructure. What is the foundation doing going forward?
Yeah, so great question. So as far as the fundraising goes, as I said, I'm part of the marketing and communications team. So our goal is to get the word out to as many persons as possible, starting with the alumni. And we're in the process of, so we do have a webpage up, the SMA alumni fund.org, where you can go and make a donation, and that donation is tax deductible. Right? We are in the process of developing it into a full-fledged website, as you mentioned, to show our structure, to show our capabilities, and me, I said, being the owner of a digital marketing agency, what we're going to provide, we're going to bring in these the students to help work on these websites and these outreach effort, right? So we're going to give them the kind of training that we give our employees, tangible skills they can actually take and want either start their own company or even work for somebody else. Because as you know, everything is digital now, right? So they're going to learn some skills about AI, digital marketing, social media, SEO, all of these technical terms that's going to have us spread the word about the organization and what we're up to. And some individual events we're planning is to identify, or and even those persons listening right now can reach out to us, um, ask us about being a spearhead. So what we want to have is SMA has been around for since 1938, so that's 90, 92, 93 years,
Mhm.
right? And I know someone born in 1934. Actually, some persons may still be around, but we want to identify individuals from different years to spearhead a fundraising effort with the alumni and make it kind of competitive, right? So if you a graduate of 1990 and 1970, right, you can reach out to us, and your role would be to recruit other members in your graduating year, and spearhead some fundraising efforts among your team and make it very competitive. So we are coming up with some innovative ways, right, to spread the word and having different events and different fundraising efforts to get to our goal. And I am confident, along with Alvin and Sylvia and the rest of the team, that we will get to our goal based on the structure and the persons that actually are in charge of each of those committees. But part of the, I want to say, the burden on us as the marketing committee is to spread the word and marketing, digital marketing, right? Even like what we're doing right now, the events and media team partnering with us to spread the word, and that's what's going to get us to our goal.
Absolutely. And as we're talking about, thank you, Patrick. And as we're talking about mentorship, Sylvia, you're on the ground. You work with these young men every day. What do they need besides academics? What do they need? Because we talk about our young men and our young women as well in terms of, what we think they need. But you work directly with them. Do you think they need mentorship? Do you think, besides the academics that are being provided to them, in your mind, what would you say we can contribute as a society to these young men?
Okay, thanks, Simon. Beside the they need mentorship, yes,
Yes,
but
yes.
they want they guidance, to make good choices. I am particularly concerned about the skill set. I know SMA is not a vocational school, but we do woodwork and we do agri and so. But I would like to see a little more skill in that. You know, something a little bit in plumbing, so I could do something at home, something in electrical something, because these are young men. They're going
Yes.
to later on have their own homes, and anything that can, something on a practical side where they could be fully engaged and enjoy what they do, and then they could take it to the next step. So we cannot just allow the young men to just, leave like that. We have to give them some skills to live with. And I would like to see something like maybe an afternoon program, in that maybe some places they could do auto mechanics, and machines and so. And I would like to see something like that, because the boys, they are interested in those things, but you're limited in terms of
Yes.
resources to really get some of those things. And because
Yeah,
some of
yeah, and in a world where everything is virtual, there's absolutely no reason that cannot be provided by a Zoom class. Someone
yeah,
simply put up the camera and they're working on a car, and say,
Mm-hmm.
this is what we're doing and this is how it is done, and electrical and plumbing, and also finance. Because I think one of the areas our schools ought to be focusing on is teaching our young people about
Manage.
finances, about how do
Mm-hmm.
you manage your finances. You don't just earn an income to spend every penny of it by the end of the month. So there's a lot of room. So I already see the need for the mentorship that we're talking about. And it just brings to mind, yes, we're talking about the St. Mary's Academy, but it also brings to mind, how are we as a society contributing back to the institutions that have created our success? So whether you went to SMA, you went to convent, you went to grammar school, you went to Portsmouth Secondary, what are you doing to be able to contribute? Because again, we have the benefit of this foundation that is now connected to SMA and is going to do incredible work for SMA. But what about the other high schools, the college, the other institutions? How can we encourage anyone who's been out there? So this is also a call to action for anyone who've attended any institution, any high school, any school in Dominica, to say, I am who I am because of what this particular school, this particular institution did for me. So how can I make a contribution for the next generation so that they can be successful as well?
Yeah.
Alvin, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, no, I think this is very critical, and it is. I'm passionate about it. It's dear to my heart. This mentorship that you just mentioned, and one of the things the committee has discussed, even more recently at our last meeting that we had just about a couple of days ago, is that we are hoping out of that as well, that we can build a real good database of our SMA alumni, so that whenever we visit Dominica, those of us in Dominica and those of us who visit from outside of Dominica, we can go into the schools and into the SMA and have a heart-to-heart talk with the guys. So I could go in there and maybe meet the guys in Form 101. That was my form, my first form, 101, or the fifth form, and say to the young man sitting, maybe I know exactly where I was sitting, some of the area there, and say, that's where I sat.
Yep, me
So
too.
some of what you're going to get is from me. It's going to rub off, you know, and have that conversation with them in a real, sort of one-on-one without too much fanfares. And I think that is important. And every member on the committee is sold on that. As a matter of fact, as we speak now, I think there's one member who is supposed to be in Dominica. I'm not sure if he has already contacted Sylvia, and he's a health leader, health educator, works with a university. He's the head of a department that deals with both the clinical and the administrative side of the university. All of the doctors and the administrative, he heads that department, and he's going to the school and speak to them. He's from Point Michelle, Kevin Daniels. So we're hoping we can do that and be an example to the others. So these young men can feel, well, hey, all is not lost. I mean, the last graduation that was held last year, Sylvia, what was the graduation class total? 50 something, 60?
Yeah, 57.
57. The school enrollment now is a little over 300. So just think of an average of 57 a year. Over a 5-year period, you're talking about almost 300 young men, that would have been graduated just within a 5-year period. So the questions remain, what's going to happen with these 300 young men? Some may go overseas to study. Some may get them employment. What happened to the others that may not be fortunate to go and study, like myself or Patrick, and those who may not get employed? So we have to constantly think of how we can address and meet the needs of those young people. And these are some of the things that this foundation, this incorporated organization that we have established is hoping to do. While on that, I will say, though, that there were other SMA old boys over the years that have done certain initiative. You had Sons of SMA. We had, I'm trying to remember the other name. We have Dave Bellot from Texas. He's on board with the committee now. Kurt Robinson. They start certain initiative. And a lot of them have been providing scholarships or contribution during graduation, give awards. But what we have created now with all of that collaboration is to ensure a more structured and sustained approach to what we are trying to achieve. For example, we have a board of directors. We have an established board of directors comprising myself, of course, as chairman of the board. You have Sylvia as secretary, Akroy is the financial secretary. You have Miguel, Murphy, Nigel Francis, Sylvester Henry, Tariq Roll, all board members. And then you have advisor to the board. You have Michael Davis, who is an attorney on the board. He's part of the group. And you have Kamel Binwa, an engineer, who is advisor to the board. So you have a 9-man board committee. So everything is structured. There is structure. And as a result of that, we can now move forward and do all of the beautiful things we want to do for our alma mater.
Yeah, thank you, Alvin. And before we run out of time, Patrick, I want us to talk about some of the challenges you may be facing at this point. But before we do, Sylvia, where are we with the fundraising? So how much of the funds have been raised to date? And then Patrick, when I come to you, if you want to start talking about some of the successes, challenges, what are you as an organization, what do you need, to be able to get this work done? But Sylvia, do we have a count in terms of the funds that have been raised to date?
Yes, we have an account at the National Bank. There's a mobile banking platform which we could use. The amount at the moment in it is $600, but we do have a $10,000 somewhere that has to go into it.
Good.
That was from past fundraising and what
Yes.
is contributed.
Yeah, so excellent. So that is encouraging to hear. And Alvin, if you have the Mo Banking account information,
Yes.
The Zelle information, get it ready, post it in the private chat, and I will.
Let me just add quickly though, in terms of the US account, I think we have a little, somewhere about 4,000 US in the US account, which is about what, 4 times 2.7, maybe almost another 10,000.
Okay,
so collectively we might say just don't shy of maybe 20,000 shy of.
Yeah, so you
and bear in mind, Simon, all of that started just in June of 2024.
Right.
It's not something that has been going on for a long time. It was right after the graduation. When was the graduation, Sylvia?
June 28th, thereabouts.
28th was the graduation. So we really started in July. It was the end of July. So you're talking about July, August, September, October, November, December, 5 months, 6 months. That's where we are.
So that's encouraging, but I say it all the time. People who watch my program and listen all the time, I'll sound like a broken record. But again, if you want maximum profits, Creole Festival is coming up in October. Try to squeeze in a little event, because nothing brings in the funds like a little rum and siwo.
We got some things planned. Don't you worry. We got some things planned. Don't you worry.
I've seen it happen, where we doubled and tripled the profits.
I told you earlier on the thing, we have a lot of band players. Signal. Shelley is the leader of Signal, and he's an old boy. And I have him on direct dial.
Right, and Triple K and Dice.
Direct dial. Direct dial. If they're hearing me, they know. Wadix, direct dial.
Yep. So that's great that you'll be able to tap into these resources, because that is what you need. So do you guys have like a deadline for when you're trying to raise the funds? Because we talked about earlier that as the time goes on, the budget becomes bigger because there's more wear and tear. And we all know the amount of rain and hurricanes that continue to hit Dominica. So do you have a time frame when you're trying to get this done?
Great question. We were targeting July, the summer of this year, because we felt that if the repairs given the school and the height and everything, it would be better done while the school is on vacation. And we were looking at the summer of this year. But like everything else, as any good project person will tell you, you do a project, you have your ETAs, you have all of that good stuff. And there may be times where you have to make some adjustments. Either you owe some overrides on the project, you have to extend the project for whatever reason. So as we speak now, we're still looking at that period. If it becomes necessary for us to move it, we'll keep our fingers crossed as much as possible and do it. But like I said earlier, we are soon to have some great discussion with this organization. You never know. Some good miracles. We are ora et labora, work and pray. We might our prayers might be answered, and voila, we can get it done.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, summer we will look in, but if we need to extend it, obviously we will.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing, to have that door just slightly open so you can put your foot in,
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
put a leg in, then you put half the body, then you just kind of, work yourself in
absolutely,
with an organization like that. So that is
absolutely.
that is great to hear. So Patrick, some of the challenges you think that you guys are facing at this point.
Right, and you heard me mention earlier, right, that the idea that some person sitting out there. So the challenge is just really spreading the word and letting everyone know that you can make a difference. You can make a difference. So you always think that, oh, somebody else will take care of it, right? So we have SMEs graduated, easily. I want to, if I have to guess, more than 20,000 students in the existence of SMA,
Oh yeah,
right?
easily.
Easily, and most of them of those students, like myself, we're not in Dominica, right? So we can make that difference. So the challenge is really having persons buy into the importance of the fundraiser and also making contributions. So if you go to smaalumnifund.org right now, you might just see one donation of $500. So we need more donations. You might not be able to donate 500. You could donate 10, 20, 50, and if and so that's a challenge. And so part of my role here tonight is to spread that word. Additionally, every donation, especially if you're in the US, is tax deductible. And that's why you mentioned that we are a 501c organization. And what that means is that when you make certain financial contributions up to a certain amount, you get a financial incentive, you get a tax deduction, right? So that extra money that you have, and even if it's not extra money, this is for a good cause. So when you ask, our biggest challenge is just spreading the word, and ways people can participate is one. Anyone listening to this, they can actually go to that URL, make a donation, also share it with someone. Additionally, if they're working for a major organization or a small business, let them know, hey, this school needs help, right? And one of the things you spoke about, Hurricane Maria, I don't think that we actually talked about that enough. And so I've been in the U.S. right at this point more than I've been in Dominica. And one of the ways I've grown my business is by being part of several organizations, right? Like the Club, business networking groups like BNI, several chamber of commerces. And when I speak at these organizations, one of the things I told them that Hurricane Maria was devastating. Probably hit about five or more islands really hard. But Dominica was the only independent island that got hit by that hurricane. Every other island that got hit belonged to some other bigger country, like the US, Great Britain, France. But every island that got hit, they got this financial assistance, and they belong to those countries. So essentially, these countries, their role was to take care of these islands. However, Dominica is the only individual island that got hit. And when you narrow it down to Dominica, you get to SMA. SMA is not a government school,
Yep.
right? So technically, it's not the government responsibility to take care of SMA. It's SMA alumni and persons from the private sector to take care of SMA. So back to the point I was trying to say is that the challenge is that we always think it's somebody else, right? Yes, we may not have the deep pockets as Mr. Astafan and other people have made significant contribution, but the way you can make a difference is that $20, that $50 that you can contribute ECUS can go a long way and encourage other people to make that contribution. Right? Sometimes we see the brothers, the ones that take care. No, the brothers, they are literally non-profits themselves. And you heard me mention estimate about the one in Grenada. there's several schools that these Catholic institutions take care of. SMA is just one of the many. And SMA has graduated enough alumni that we can make a difference. We
Yep.
can play a part. And as I said, it don't have to be, if you cannot quote unquote afford it right now, you can spread the word. And if enough people spread the word, I am confident that we can get to our goal. Um, we can get to our goal of July of raising the 180,000 US.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly. And thank you for that. So, again, we're just encouraging everyone who's on the live to share the program. Just click the share button to be able to get more people to look at it. And, as we're having this conversation, guys, I just realized the number of old boys from SMA that I have on WhatsApp. So I too am going to be sharing this program to the likes of Gordon Henderson, Maggie, Shirley, Waddix. I'm just kind of going through my mind and thinking, wow, I actually know a lot of SMA alumni. So I too will be sharing the program to everyone. But
But
Alvin, do you
Simon,
have
yeah, I'll give you that
before you jump
information.
in, Alvin, because I know we have the SMA alumni fund.org, but do we have the more banking for people who want to
Yes,
make donations
yes,
in
yes,
Dominica?
yes. The more banking account number.
Do you want to copy and paste it into the private chat, and that way I can
Okay,
just,
okay,
yeah,
I'll
if
do
you could do that, that'd be great.
that. Okay. Um, but while I'm doing that, I just
Yes, go
wanted to
ahead.
piggyback a little on what Patrick said. If you do, I just did a quick maths because I'm someone, Simon, that works with data, with numbers. I data helps you makes decision, drives you to a decision. If you take just 600 old boys in the diaspora, okay, 600 old boys contributing at a minimum $300 a
Oh,
year.
without tripping you, Alvin, I think I see where you posted it. So let me
Oh, you
just
saw it?
separate it and
Okay.
post it again. Okay, I see it. I see it. Okay, yes, go
All
ahead.
right.
I'll post it again.
So I'm saying, if you take, and I'm addressing those old boys in the diaspora, if we take 600 old boys in the diaspora, which we have more, triple, quadruple, and each old boy contributed a mere $300, an annual contribution, which is tax deductible. That is about $25 a month, which is about $5.76 a week, less than $6. We can easily raise $180,000
Right.
in a jiffy. And that's at a minimum of $300. You commit $300, which is tax deductible. That works out at a mere $25 a month. And it's less than it's just about $5.76 a week. We can easily raise 180,000 US dollars.
Right.
So it is not rocket science, really. It calls for, of course, for commitment. And that's why we have the volunteer and the outreach. It calls for network. And that is why we have people like Patrick there and the other guys on the team who have that means of reaching out. And we, again, I know we will get to that at some point, but we again want to thank you for your platform, because we know you have an extensive platform. People will go back and listen to the program, they'll hear the program, and the word spread around. It's like in business. Word of mouth sometimes works better than the ad that you put on the radio or the television. So it spreads. So we are hoping that that information will reach across. It will touch your heart as an SMA old boy, especially those who can look back to them and say, look where I am. I'm Patrick is a business owner in Atlanta. I am in Atlanta doing good. Kamal is in New York. Leonard is there. John is over there. This one in Texas. This one is in Miami. This one is in Florida. This one is in Arizona. And we can easily raise that resource and bring it to our alma mater.
Yeah, but before we run out of time, I want to make sure we get the more banking
Oh yeah.
information correctly. So
Yeah.
I see here it says, guys, I hope you have your pen and paper. It says more banking at the National Bank at number 215-000-233.
That's correct.
Alvin, the end is cut off. So was there something else? Don't you need a
No,
phone
that's
number
it.
for more
That
banking?
um I'm sorry. You got 215-000-233.
Okay,
And
so that's
and
the
the
more banking
and
information.
yeah, that's the account number, and the ID um is 555-3304. So if you're doing
555.
3304.
Okay, so let me repeat that. So more banking on the ground in Dominica, number 215-000-233, and the ID is 555-3304. That's correct, Alvin?
Yes, correct, correct.
And Zell,
And the Zelle,
SMA Alumni Fund at
yes,
gmail.com,
that's correct.
SMA Alumni Fund at gmail.com. And if
That's
you
right.
want the tax deductible option, it is www.sma.alumnifund.org. Did I get that correct?
That is correct. You're
Okay, guys.
absolutely
So,
correct.
we're running out of time very quickly. So I
So
want
they
to
could
go
do
around the
PayPal,
table.
Zelle, all of that they could do on the Bank of America.
Yes, so I want to go around the table. And first of all, thank you guys for being here, for bringing this very important initiative to our audience. I certainly know that it will go well for you. I am more than happy to continue to collaborate, to work with you, Patrick, in the digital marketing space, because that is the space I'm also in, and to kind of keep on top. One of the things I'm trying to do this year is keep on top of our organizations, what they're doing, where they're facing the challenges, where they're facing the successes, so we can continue to move their efforts forward. So, Sylvia, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the hard work you're doing as the principal of the St. Mary's Academy. And if you tuned in late, you are listening to Roots Connections on Q. We're talking about the St. Mary's Academy roof rehabilitation project, and we're talking about beyond building the infrastructure, because we know all of this lends itself to youth development, all this lends itself to sustainable development in Dominica. So it is much more than just focusing on rebuilding the roof. Yes, the roof is important because, again, we're seeing mold in the school. It's creating an unhealthy condition for the young men, but we have to go beyond the conversation of rebuilding the roof. And again, if you miss any portion of the program, you tuned in late, you can always go back to YouTube and Facebook at Q95 FM Radio, or on Facebook at Push Past 10, and click the replay to catch the entire program. Guys, don't forget to share this program. Please, please, please share this program so we can continue to gain the support that we need for this very important initiative. So, Sylvia, thank you for being here. Your final thoughts as we wind down.
Okay. Thank you very much, Simone, for having us on. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for giving the support. I am really grateful for that. And I would like to encourage our past students or SMA old boys to donate. It doesn't have to be a big amount, whatever you can, those locally and those in the diaspora. I also want to invite you, if you're in Dominica for any reason, a short stay, you could always come into the school. The gates are always open and my office is always open. You could always come in and pay a visit, have a chat, take a photo, do whatever you want, you wish, and come in and, at least come visit us. Let us know who you are. And according to the time you come, you get to speak to the students. You could pass around the school and, let the students know who you are and you know what you do, so that too could boost them into seeing as a good example, a mentor. You could inspire them. So please, men of SMA, St. Mary's men, go forth. Let us put our money where our mouth is, and let us do what we have to do. Let us ora et labora. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you. Thank you. Principal of SMA, Ms. Sylvia John Baptist, Mrs. Sylvia John Baptist, thank you for being here. Patrick, over to you.
Thank you. So, what I want to say is that you think of, I actually am the father of two young kids. My daughter just turned 7 today, and my
Oh
Oh,
son,
wow.
okay.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You
And my
kept the best for last.
and my son is 2.5. And I'm thinking that those years, especially our teenage years, are the most formative years of our lives. And those 5 years, some of us probably spend more than 5 years in SMA, but those 5 years that we spend in high school in Dominica, these are important years of our lives. And these literally shape us. And it's shaped me, it's made me who I am today. And when whenever I'm asked to do anything for SMA, it's an easy yes. So sometimes, just personally, it's really hard for me and even our other board members, that's why we say yes so easily, is that it's hard for us to think why it's so hard for somebody to just donate $25 or even $300 for the year. That part for me can be mind-boggling. And again, don't really know person's financial situations. That's a separate conversation. But if you can afford your formative years to put a roof literally above the head of the students in the school to ensure that the school thrives, because the roof not being there, right? The mold, you mentioned about mold. Let's not even talk about the health issues of mold. Let's not even go there, right? So the time to act is now. And my ask is, I've been watching, again, Digital Bank, I'm watching that page, the SMA Alumni Funded Power Guide. Haven't seen any donations come in. So I want to see before me at least 5 more donations come in. We can do, let's build that momentum. So that's because energy, momentum, the time to act is now. So that's my ask. Make a donation, spread the word. Think of you being a high school student that wants to receive that remarkable education in Dominica or elsewhere, and your high school being your most formative years, you have the capability to make the difference in the lives of students by putting a roof above their head. So that's my final thoughts.
Yes, and before we come to you, thank you, Patrick. And before we come to you, Alvin, I just want to say congratulations to all the foundations and the organizations that are working tirelessly out there for the benefit of Dominica. As I see, Cody Barry is on with us. He's also part of a foundation that's offering scholarships to Dominicans, and I know the struggles of getting the funding that is needed. So, Cody, I hope your fundraising efforts are going well. Don't forget, we talked about, a little rum and siwo. I tell that to all my organizations because that is what seems to work. So, Cody, nice to see you on the program. Alvin, over to you.
Well, Simon, first of all, let me say thank you to you for allowing us this opportunity and the platform to be able to come here and speak about the project and about our alma mater. We really want to thank you. We want to say thank you to Lambe on the console, who is back there making sure everything rolls, and the technician. We want to thank you. I want to thank the principal, Sylvia. Sylvia and I, over the last couple of months, I joked with her the other day. I say, boy, Sylvia, your husband, Jeff, must be saying, what the hell this man calling my wife so many times in a week at night? So I let me talk to Jeff, please. I said, Jeff, can I get some permission? Just one of us too. Because we speak every day practically on anything. And I must say Sylvia has provided all the support, of which I'm so thankful. She might be in a class, she's busy, I'll call you back. We WhatsApp each other. I want to say thanks to my other colleague here, Patrick. Wonderful guy. I met him recently. We had great conversation. We'll be hanging out sometime again somewhere in Atlanta when that snow is over and go have a little drink or so. But to the rest of the committee members who may be listening, who I'm sure is listening, I want to say thank you. It has not been easy. It has required some effort. But like you say, Simon, I'm like a dog with a bone in his mouth. And when this bone is in my mouth, I'm not giving it up until I chew that bone. And I'm really grateful for the confidence that they have placed in me as well, and the trust. And I really appreciate that. It takes a village, as they say, to raise a child. It's not a one-man thing. It's all of us in this thing together. So I'm really passionate, and I subscribe to what Patrick said, to call on all the old boys, wherever the part of the globe you are and you're hearing this program, to contribute so that we can raise the necessary resources And those who can pray, that the mothers of the old boys and everybody pray for us. Nothing happens without prayer. Remember our motto, ora et labora, work and pray. So with prayers, with tenacity, with confidence, I think we can achieve that. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, Alvin, and we'll be in touch as I continue to track your progress and your challenges. So thank you for being here, our panel. Thank you, Lambi, Sherwin, Mr. G, the Q95 family, our listeners, our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Before I leave, let me one more time tell you the options for donations. So the tax-deductible option is www.sma.alumnifund.org. We also have a Zelle account, and that is sma.alumnifund@gmail.com. And if you're in Dominica and you want to make a donation, you can go to the bank, Mo Banking, number 215-000-233, and the ID number is 555-3304. So thank you, everyone, for being here. It is always great to be in your company for another episode of Roots Connections on Q, where we continue to harness the power of technology, international radio, social media, and podcasts to leverage the expertise of our Dominican and Caribbean brothers and sisters around the world for the benefit of us all. And as always, as I say at the end of the program, as you're listening, I always want you to keep in mind, what role can I play with these organizations, with this initiative, so that I can play an active role in the development of our people and our region? So remember to follow Q95 FM Radio and Push Past 10 on Facebook and on YouTube, Q95 FM Radio. And I would also like to hear from you if you have a project, an initiative, something that is working for the benefit of Dominica and the Caribbean region. You can reach me at pushpast10@gmail.com. So that is pushpast10@gmail.com. And just very quickly, we know that everybody's trying to get healthy in the new year 2025. I know a lot of people are struggling with those New Year's resolutions to be healthy. So I'm posting weekly videos on my YouTube channel, Push Past 10 on YouTube, so you can follow, like, subscribe. I think we have about 686 people who have made a commitment to being healthy. And on Facebook, I think we have about 10,900 who have made that commitment to be healthy. So if you're looking for a supportive community, you're looking for weekly tips to stay healthy during 2025, you can join us on Facebook at Push Past 10 or on YouTube on Push Past 10 as well. So always great to be here with you. I am Simone Matthew, and I will see you. I believe our next program is going to be February 12th. It will be our next program. So until then, you have yourself a wonderful evening. Everyone in the U.S., please stay dry, stay warm. Alvin, we're freezing. Patrick, we're freezing in Atlanta. Hopefully the snow will melt by tomorrow and these kids can go back to school.
I know.
But thank you for being here.
All right,
and have
Simone,
a great
thank
evening
you.
and a very productive week. Take care,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See
Thank you
Sylvia.
very
Thank you,
much.
Lambi.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Roots Connections on Q, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every other Wednesday on Q95, the big station. Dominicans journeyed beyond our shores for decades in search of economic opportunities and educational advancement. Many are ready to give back to their cherished nature island. Welcome to Roots Connections on Q. Join Dr. Simone Matthew on Q95.